Hey, morning.
Hey, Lisa, how are you?
Good. Sorry, I was logging into Facebook and it wouldn't work. I was having a heck of a time this morning.
It's all good. It's good. We're here. 2 minutes to spare. How's everyone doing this morning?
We're good. I'm gonna make you co-host so I can't forget.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll go, hey, can I share my screen? And won't be able to do that.
Oh, I'm kind of notorious for getting that step, for forgetting that step. So
It's a lot to check off the list as you go through it.
70343. Oh, 4327. Okay. Okay. We are going live on Facebook in a moment.
Excellent. Cool.
Hold on. Hey, Holly's here.
Some more coming in.
Agency staff only. Go live. We are live on Facebook.
Excellent.
Open.
Are you managing the chat on Facebook?
Yes, I will
Oh,
keep
okay.
an
So that's always so hard to do. I'm like, hey, if you're on Facebook, just join us on Zoom.
eye. Right, right. Let me shut a door behind me and I will send, I was late getting started, so I will send both offices a group email as well. So we may have some late.
That's all good. We have content saved on Facebook, so we can always go back and watch it if we missed anything.
Yeah, so this isn't a private group, but I can send you the recording if you want it.
Oh, you're okay.
Cool.
How's everyone doing this morning?
Good, thank you. How are you?
Great. Hopefully y'all have had coffee already. I'm not the one responsible for waking you up today. Everyone takes a sip. Fantastic.
All right.
Cool. We ready?
I'm ready if you're ready.
I'm ready. Yeah, let's do it.
You guys, this is the one and only Sam Jackson. He is a MAPS coach for Keller Williams out of the Atlanta, Georgia area. Did I get that right?
Yeah, north of Atlanta. Yeah, just outside the city.
Oh, there's Kedra. Okay, so I have learned a lot from the one session that Sam was generous enough to let me have for free. And I really thought that you guys could get a lot of value out of that as well. So he's going to be doing his most highly attended class for us for free today. I think that's flipping awesome. And thank you so much for joining us. You guys aren't going to want to miss out on this. So thanks for being here. Sam, I'm going to hand it over to you.
Yeah, and first I just want to say I appreciate that and thank you because at least reached out asking for help, and I think that's what KW is all about. Is whenever you're not sure if you're stuck with something or if you're finding yourself running against the wall, raise your hand. That's so important inside this company. There's a lot of great folks that are willing to help you out. So thanks for having me. I appreciate it. And I wish I was the one and only Sam Jackson. Unfortunately, there's a much cooler bald guy by the name of Sam Jackson that makes a lot more money than I do. But I'll do my best to make sure I impress today. Yeah, thank you all for having me. I wanted to teach this class. I call it Facebook Leads for a Buck. Quite honestly, that price tends to vary depending on what city and state you're in. But the goal here is that we're going to talk about getting Facebook leads today in a sense that you can get those for pretty much on the cheap. And that's the goal. So any of you that are looking to grow your database in any way and some of maybe the other practices that you've tried in the past aren't working, this is a great way to kind of just grow your database kind of quickly. Now, I will say, I don't want to misguide you. I think it's really, really important that you always focus on your database first, because we know that we can expect a certain return for people that know us, like us, and trust us. that's way more appropriate than Facebook leads. Does anyone know the current number of how many people you need in your database to get one piece of business for people that know you, like you, and trust you? Any guesses? Just kind of curious. I'm going to ask for interaction a good bit today, so feel free to take yourself off mute. Give it the first try. I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. It's okay. Give me a guess. How many people do you need in your database in order to get one piece of business, one closing? It's less than you think.
Couple hundred.
Oh, okay. So I was going to say that like nobody's wrong, but yeah, that one's off. 10 people. 10. So if people are going into your database that know you, like you, and trust you, and I call this the target test. Like if I were to run into somebody while grocery shopping or shopping at Target or Lowe's or wherever, if I were to see them, would they wave to me? Would we stop and have a conversation? Would we acknowledge that we exist? So if I have those type of people in my database, if I have at least 10 of them, I can expect one piece of business. With Facebook leads, it's closer to 100. These are people that we're getting good contact information from Facebook, but they don't know us. They don't know us from the other couple hundred real estate agents in our area. They don't know us from anyone else. So it takes time to build that rapport and trust. So if you want to grow a big business, focus on people that know you. But once you feel like you've maybe exhausted every database or every group that you could belong to, it's good to supplement that with Facebook leads. And the goal here is that we just want to get them as first cheaply as possible. Cool. Now, before we get into the actual how-to practical part of doing Facebook leads in command, I also want to share it's really, really important that you have a plan before you do this. Now, I call this the 3 S's. We have to figure out what it is that we have to say, what it is we're going to send, and then also how we're going to service the leads that come through. What would, if anyone wouldn't mind sharing for like our seasoned agents in the room or anyone that's just kind of busy right now, what's your main lead generation source? Like where are you getting the most of your business from currently? Do y'all door knock and call for sale by owners and anything else out that way?
I don't door knock, but I send 100 letters a week. To me, I sit in front of the TV watching Netflix all the time. I'm usually scrolling Facebook at the same time. So if I can scroll Facebook, I have time to write addresses on envelopes while I'm doing that. And it's gotten to where my business isn't dependent on that anymore as much, but because I do it on a regular basis, it's like therapeutic for me to write those down, because I know that's the longevity of my business at this point, is continuing to send those out.
So handwritten
for
notes.
me, it's an investment in my future, and that is so therapeutic for me to just write those out.
Recording in progress.
Yeah, cool. Anyone else? Are we all doing handwritten notes? I love it.
I know, Holly, are you still doing the handwritten notes?
I am, yes.
Okay. Anyone calling for sale by owners and expireds at a high level? Door knocking, open houses?
I do open houses probably like 2 a month, because I don't have listings that are houses. But I did an open house for Mary Lou Stone, who is on here, and I was able to add 7 people to my database from that, in a price range that is a good median price range. Is actually the going rate for houses around here, that price range. And that was really cool because it was a part of the market that I hadn't tapped into yet. So it was like, nothing's come of it yet, but they're getting mailed to regularly now. So there will be things that come from it.
Great. Okay. Yeah. So like when we look at, and I think whenever you first get into real estate, they don't teach you this in real estate school, but they tell you, there's a million different ways that you can do this. I don't have to be the door knocking expert if I'm great on the phone. And if I'm bad on the phone, I can go knock doors or I can use social media. But the key thing is that the number one thing that you have to do is understand where your leads or where your business is coming from. So let's just say I'm going to use for sale buyers and expired listings. I like those types of lead sources because we know that those are people that have a sign in their yard that want to list their home, right? So they either put the orange for sale by owner sign in their yard, or they put another brokerage's sign in the yard, and their listing expires. But we know that that particular homeowner wants to sell their home. Now, there's a big difference, though, between the objection that a for sale by owner has and expired listing. A for sale by owner doesn't see the value in a real estate agent. So if I go into like that appointment or that conversation, I have to share my value on why that person should list with me and where I can bring, extra money to this person's pocket. With an expired listing, this is also somebody who wants to sell their home. And yet I have to overcome the objections on what I'm going to do differently than the last real estate agent. So these are two people that are going to show up as leads in your world in the physical space. And yet I have to have two completely different scripts whenever I go to talk to those folks. I have to be able to navigate two completely different conversations, even though they're pretty much like the same thing in a sense. And I just want to challenge too, that when we start to look into the world of like online leads, we have to keep that in the back of our mind as well. If I'm paying for leads on, and don't do this, but if I'm paying for leads on Zillow or Realtor.com or OpCity or any of those places, I have to recognize where are these leads coming from. Same thing with Facebook. And then if I'm running Google searches as well, those are all kind of like for sale by owners and expireds in their own sense of like, I can't treat them all the same way. I have to have different scripts and dialogue. So it's important whenever you start this and you get a Facebook lead, you have to understand, okay, when I get one, what am I going to say? When I pick up the phone for the first time, what is it I'm going to say to this person? Because if I'm really, really aggressive and I say, hey, this is Sam Jackson with Keller Williams. I saw you clicked on my listing for 123 Main Street and we go look at it this afternoon. They're going to be like, I was just scrolling through Facebook doing a dopamine dump. I have no idea what I clicked on, and now I have a salesperson calling me, right? And statistics tell us they were probably in the bathroom while they were doing it. So the fact that they're getting a phone call from a real estate agent, you can't be as aggressive with these folks. You kind of have to play it cool. So I'm going to walk through some of those conversation starters as well once we kind of get through this. But I would just want to say, if you're trying Facebook leads for the first time, make sure you plan this out. And we're going to walk through that today. Cool. Any questions before I jump into Command? Y'all feel very much like in the driver's seat today. Okay. So in Command, I'm going to walk you through creating your first Facebook ad and kind of a best practice that I've learned that gets us really great results. I would love to use one of y'all's listings as an example today as the content. Does anyone have a listing with like some free advertising? This part where I'm giving away like $25 in free ads. Who wants it? Just give me a listing.
Come on, who has a listing that they want a free ad on? Margie, you want a free ad on your listing?
Do I want a free ad on my list?
Yeah, we need a listing to use for this training. Do you want
Use
to?
the
Mary
chat
Lou
as well.
does.
Yeah.
Mary Lou does.
No, I don't think I have one.
Trying to unmute.
So do you want one
Okay.
Oh, do I want one?
on Imperial
Sure.
Point? Okay,
I
I
do.
got you.
Give me an address. What do we got?
Thank you, dear.
You're welcome. Hang on. Sorry, I wasn't in the MLS yet. I hadn't made it that far.
Yeah, I can't get in the MLS now that I got this going. 109 Enclaves Lane.
109 Enclaves Range. And what city is that in?
No, it's 1009.
1009. Okay.
Lake Ozark, Missouri.
All right. Cool. All right. We're going to use that today. Now, I'm going to walk through creating a listing as our content. Now, the reason why I choose a listing is that we know that this is our best return on investment. Whenever we have that as the bait, if you will, the content that goes out to Facebook, a listing usually gets us the best result. That's not to say that you can't go run an ad for interest rates or to brand yourself and have a different objective. I just know that whenever I get the most leads, it's because I have a listing out there as the content itself. Now, in today's market, I know not everybody has a listing because if we do get them, they're selling really quickly. So I challenge you, especially the new agents, if you're interested in doing this, go up to somebody in your market center that has multiple listings and say, hey, Holly, this is Sam Jackson. I'm one of the newer agents in the office. I don't have a listing, and I would love if I could advertise your property on 123 Main Street for you. Would that be okay? I'm going to spend $25 of my own money to help advertise your home. And whenever this thing is done, I'm going to go ahead and share the stats back to you so you can tell your client that we got in front of 2,500 targeted buyers on Facebook. Would that make your client happy? Would that be okay if I do that? But get permission. I have yet to have an agent turn me down whenever I use that approach. It's a win-win. Cool. So if you don't have a listing, don't stress, just use that approach. But inside of Command, I'm going to go ahead and click this Create Campaign button. Just know, and Elise can help you, the very, very first step is make sure that you have your Facebook connected. That gets done inside of settings. That's just a matter of logging into Facebook, but we're going to skip that for now. But go ahead and click on Create Campaign. And we're going to walk through creating a Facebook ad today. So when I hit Create Campaign, we have all these different options, but the one we're going to focus on today is social ad. This allows us to advertise on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Quite honestly, I just spend my money on Facebook. It doesn't make sense for me to do a whole lot of Instagram, and especially not Twitter. So I'm going to go ahead and click on social ad. And this is going to have me walk through creating a Facebook ad from scratch. The first thing that you have to do is name it. And this is for you. This doesn't go out anywhere publicly. So for me, I'll just type in 109 Enclave. I usually do the property. And then I'll say Sam Ozark. That way there, I remember that's the class that I taught when I did this. The next thing you have to do, just starting from the top and working our way down, not to get overwhelmed, we're just going to do it step by step. I have to pick my goal. And this is important. The key thing here is that this is going to tell Facebook, this is how I want you to spend my advertising money. I want you to take this money that I'm giving you, my budget, and spend it this way. Our choices that mostly work for us are advertise listing and attract buyers. We do have this button here that says attract listings. And I know as a lot of times as real estate agents, we want more listings so that we feel like we want to click this button. I would implore you not to. Is there anyone here that's recently bought a house, or better yet, who have recently purchased a vehicle? Can we just buy a new car? Anyone remember that experience? Do you typically go to the auto ship dealer and say, hey, I want to sell my car and then I want to buy a new one? Or do you typically go shopping for a while and then you're like, oh yeah, I have to trade in that hunk of lunk also? Buyers show up online first. They'll show up as buyers before they address they have something to sell. We show up as consumers all the time that way. So using attract listings usually doesn't get you good results. We want to get buyers because these are buyers that are most likely going to sell after the fact, or they'll address selling at some point. Does that make sense? Okay. Consumers are really predictable. It's a fun thing. So I would recommend attract buyers because you're going to get the most leads. And then down here, you have the option to run on a couple different media channels, but today we're just going to do Facebook. That's normally what I do anytime. How are we doing with pace? Are we good on the screen?
We're good. Is anybody else doing an ad along with him, or is it just me?
Excellent. I love that. Cool.
No,
Yeah,
but take good notes.
yeah, take good notes, and this is being recorded. So a lot of times I'll have agents that will watch it with me, take good notes, and then they'll watch the video again and do it like pause and stop as we go through. Yeah, but I'm going to go ahead and create campaign, and that's going to take us to the fun part. Now, this looks overwhelming. This is where we scare a lot of agents sometimes because this is where we get into building a Facebook ad. I just want to, like, when you first come to the screen, it's going to look like this. I'm going to minimize this text category. I'm going to walk you through. This is much simpler than it looks. You basically just have to go box by box. We're going to start at the top. We've already done the name and goal. That's what we did in the last screen. Now we're going to add a listing. We're going to go on to text, then our media, and then we're going to just go through targeting and budget. But kind of go through this box by box, and this is really easy. But the first thing we're going to do is we're going to click on add a listing because that's going to be the content that we use. Now, whose listing did I get? Who was the agent?
Mary Lou Stone.
Mary Lou. Okay, excellent.
Yeah, it's Mary Lou.
So Mary Lou, there's a good chance if you're doing this by yourself, when you come in, you'll see your listing already populate here. For everyone else, you have to click this little filter that says only my listing and change it to all listings. And then from here, I can search. So I'm going to type in 1009 Enclave.
Enclave.
Search button. Enclave's plural, is that what it was?
Yes.
Okay.
Lane.
All right. Is this it right here?
Yep.
Excellent. It's a lot.
It's being built right now. It's Foundations in, main floors on, bottom floors on, roofs going up.
Love it. Hey, stay off mute because I'm going to need some more input from you here in a couple of seconds on the property. Okay.
Stay off of mute.
Yes, I'm gonna rely on you pretty heavily here. Cool. But yeah, you should see your listing populate amongst this list when you search by address, and all you have to do is hit select, and then like magic, your ad's created. Now we're going to like one up this. Like it's pretty much done. There's a couple things that we need to change, but we're going to make sure that this bad baby gets you some decent leads. But what we're going to do is, now that we've moved on from our listing, we're going to go down to text. Now I'm going to share some best practices with y'all. Mary Lou, no offense, I love what you have written about this property, but in the world of Facebook, we sound like a real estate agent. So the first thing I always recommend is that if your information here is the MLS description, go ahead and highlight it all and delete it. That content doesn't work all that well on Facebook. We have to
You're
simplify
breaking
it.
my heart here.
I know.
I know.
That's what I do for every Facebook post. Guys, I so knew I was doing something wrong.
Now, I'm gonna share a little excerpt from this book I've been reading. It's called Building a Story Brand. It's a great book by Donald Miller, and it's really not that technical. It's a good book about building your own personal brand, and there's a lot of really cool references in here. But Donald tells us that in terms of building a story or building a brand or any type of advertising you do, you have to understand the headspace of people, the person who's going to read this or the person who's going to see this. And he tells us that every morning, human beings wake up and sees the world through the lens of a protagonist, as if they're living the life in their own story. The world revolves around us, regardless of how altruistic, generous, and selfless a person we may be. Each day is quite literally about how we encounter our world. Potential customers feel the same way about themselves. They are the center of their world. And whenever they see your content, or if they see an agent who has positioned themselves as the hero in their world, they say, oh, this is another hero like me. I wish I had more time to hear their story, but right now I'm busy. I'm looking for a guide. And he goes on to tell a pretty good example of he ruins every movie that you may have ever watched. But he says in every really great story, there's a hero that has some type of issue, some type of problem, and then there's a guide that will help this person. So think about, he uses Star Wars for an example, and I promise I'm not going to go down that techie, nerdy route, but Luke Skywalker has Yoda. And I don't know, share any other movie, but when you start to really break down movies, there is a hero in the movie, and there is a guide who helps that person through the problem. Your role as a real estate agent is to be the guide, not the hero. I hate to break it to you, we all have to look like Yoda, not like Luke Skywalker. So whenever we go to write our content, we have to keep that in mind. How do we position this little bit of phrasing that we do here to make our person look like a hero? How does this appeal to them? What problem does it solve? So Mary Lou, big task at hand. Tell me a couple of things you like about this house, and how can we phrase that in a way that this sounds like we're solving a problem for the heroes in our world?
Okay. Well, the three most important things about this property are the view.
Excellent.
Maintenance free.
Okay.
It's a villa. It's not connected or anything. It's a freestanding villa.
Okay.
Okay.
Now, when you say villa, I mean, that is a structure that I'm not familiar in my neck of the woods. Can you explain a villa to me?
This particular peninsula is a second-tier property. There's 14 units being built. Four of them are already done and sold, but they're two like duplexes. There's a villa on one side and a villa on the other side.
Okay.
So
emotionally, if I were to purchase this home and I've just moved in day one, what am I feeling? What do I enjoy the most
about this? Close to town.
Okay.
My husband's actually working on that house, and if I were to move in and it would be my first day there, I would feel really like secluded in a good way, because all the other ones are attached to something else, where this one is a freestanding by itself.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Holly. And your husband's over there?
Yeah, he's helping frame with Scott and them.
Oh, good. Awesome. I'll have to figure out who he is. I'm sure I've talked to him.
I'm sure you have. It's a beautiful lot.
It is. It's great. I mean, it's going up fast. It'll be under roof like next week, probably.
So I'm no poet, but I would go along the lines of something like peace and tranquility, a break from the everyday grind.
Okay.
I'm not spewing out stats. And by that, I mean, I'm not saying how many beds and baths, and I'm not trying to get too wordy, because when we get too wordy, we tend to paint too specific of a picture for some people. Whenever I give them just enough, they're obligated to click, and that's the whole purpose. We want them to go look at more photos.
Mhm.
So peace and tranquility. I'm gonna clean this
Break
up.
from the everyday grind.
Oops.
You'll never get tired of the view.
At that point, yeah, I'm gonna keep it short and simple, almost like a tagline, right? Like when we think about like Nike, it's just do it. McDonald's, I'm loving it. We want to give that slogan essentially to just this property.
It has to be about the view.
Has to be about the view.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. For the main copy, I like to tease on the emotion. You
Okay.
do have one more space that we use for the
Okay.
headline, and that's
All
where
right.
I'd maybe bring in something specific.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's the view to die for.
I almost typed that, and then I realized that it's probably not best to type the word die in any.
I know.
Like, you'll get
I knew
fired.
you were going to say that.
Yeah, you gotta be careful with that one. I've done a few instances there.
Second to none.
Yeah,
The incredible view.
yeah, and you can keep it short and sweet on
The
incredible.
view to live for, Kate says.
Yeah,
that's
I
good,
love
Kate.
that.
Yeah,
The
great.
view to
Kate.
live
Winner,
for.
winner, chicken dinner.
Love
Yeah.
And maybe I'll throw in some.
Does
dots in
anyone
there.
else feel obligated to fill all of the characters that you can? Like, because we strive to on the MLS, so it's like, oh, you should strive to everywhere. I love that you're not doing that, because
Yeah.
you're right. People aren't looking to read a book when they're on Facebook. Like, if it has a commercial in the first 5 seconds, I'm not even going to finish the video.
Exactly. People aren't reading, or they don't choose to go to Facebook to read. Rather,
Right.
I mean, you may be reading books or other things, but yeah, we're not going to Facebook to read most likely. I will say though, I would maybe add a few things here, or maybe I wouldn't. I would maybe run 2 of these ads at the same time and test some things. But some things that worked for me in the past is that there's also an emoji button right here that you can bring in some imagery that also helps. Now, I've never done a beautiful property like this with peace, but you could maybe bring in the peace sign or the peace fingers, or I imagine you can search the word heaven and we'll make it something fun here.
Yeah.
These can pull up all the emojis we're used to. And then if you have a listing that's not on the lake, you can just type in the word house. There's a lot of great ones in here as well. But typically I'll pull in one of these, and I won't do any more, like I won't do more than 3 at a time, but I'll typically bookend my text. I'll put one at the beginning and then maybe something different at the end. If I were to talk about, like, enjoy a view with a glass of wine, I would have grabbed like the wine emoji or something like that. Okay. Now for the description, but for the main copy and the headline, that's the hardest part. It's just kind of simplifying what we're going to say here. For the description, I write the same thing literally every single ad. I'll say, for more photos, pricing, and details, click learn more. And that's my call to action. I want them to click for more photos, pricing, and details. And I usually do it in this format. Oops. I'll do all caps on click learn more. And then I'll also grab emojis for this spot, and I'll search the word down here. And I typically use this pointer finger, the third one in. And I do 3 of these. And these work just like letters. You can copy and paste them. That's what I'm doing there. And the way this works is that like your ad preview here on the right, it's a little bit off. But when this thing actually goes live to Facebook, this text right here will be above that learn more button. So those 3 little pointers will be literally pointing to the learn more button. We're telling them to click that button. It seems so silly, but it works. And then we're gonna hit save. And now we only have a couple more things to go. Now, here's a little bit of a trap. with the Facebook ad sometimes. The media button is already checked off, but we want to go in here and finish off some things. So the way our ads are set up, we have the ability to add a maximum of 5 photos. I'm gonna go ahead and add one and let you see what that looks like. And let me just grab that one there. And KW at the moment's recommending that you do this as a square. Personally, I prefer wide because it gives a little bit of a better image. But go ahead and crop it to whatever way you think looks best. Actually, I need to get rid of that first one.
What about the, oh yeah, that's the perfect one. That should be the.
Every time that you do a listing, do all 5 photos here. And what's going to happen is that, like right now, you can see my ad looks like what we call a carousel, meaning that it's one ad with 2 images that kind of teeter back and forth. That's not actually the case. When this goes to Facebook, what we're going to do is we're going to run 5 different versions of your ad. So it's going to use that text and the phrasing that we used above. It's going to put it on top of 5 separate images, and we're going to run 5 separate ads at the same time. And Facebook does this. It's an old marketing term called A/B testing, meaning that in real time, when we send out 5 images, if there's one of those that's not getting clicks or leads, we're going to stop using it. And then 4 of your ads will run, and then 3, and then 2. And then by the end of your campaign, the picture or a couple pictures that are actually getting clicks and leads will be the one that Facebook promotes the most. So this is super intuitive and really, really smart because it's only showing the images that gets the best looks. And so because of that, whenever I'm coming in here and adding out my photos, I'm not looking to be strategic here. I'm not looking to go in and grab the kitchen and the master bedroom, the master bathroom like we normally do as real estate agents if we only had 5 to pick. I click this add more button and I treat this like a mini version of Facebook. Where did my eye go to? Which picture in this messiness, this noise, like Facebook, caught my attention? I'm going to do that one more time because I wasn't looking at it when I did it. For me, this time it was the screen and porch. Don't know why, but like, and feel free to do it any way you want to, but that's the approach I usually have is like, which one's going to stand out? And it may not be your best photo every time. But the great news is that we have 5 opportunities to get that right. What picture stood out for y'all when I jumped to the screen?
The kitchen top, oh, wait a minute, hold on. Let's
The lake
go down.
view always.
Yeah.
So we have a couple of lake views. I think we have both of those in. We said the kitchen. Which kitchen one? Row 1 or row 2?
Actually, this I know you can't. The 6th one.
This one here.
Yeah. What do you think?
6. Okay. Yeah.
Well, I can see the view a little bit in the back.
Yeah. Gonna change those to wide. And yeah, it's a beautiful shot too. And then we'll max out. We'll do one more. And then yeah, I'll just do that. Where'd my eye go? My eye went to this one right here.
Okay,
I don't know about you. What about you?
that's fine.
Okay. It's gonna be different for everybody. But yeah, just be diverse with the 5 that you have. Don't try to do like all 5 kitchen shots or something else. Okay. It's gorgeous. Cool. Excellent. Now, check with your broker of record and your local MLS and all of your local rules. I know for me personally in my area, anytime that we advertise a listing, we have to include the Market Center logo. We also have to include our ownership statement that says each office is independently owned and operated. But check with your local leadership to make sure that that's correct for you. But anytime I'm doing it, I have to include those things if it's a listing as the content. Once you're done with the pictures and just kind of cleaning up the compliance part of it, we hit apply and we hit save. And we're pretty much done. We're getting there. Before I go on to Facebook targeting, any questions so far up to this point?
You said about the Facebook that'll run the 5 ads. Does that automatically stop those, or will we have to go in and stop them?
It will all happen automatically.
Okay, awesome. Okay.
Yeah. And again, I know someone else may have this question too. I'll make sure I mention it for the recording. We do not know which one is our best performing photo either. We don't get that data, unfortunately, because I would love to know like which one got the most clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, we don't. But yeah, that all happens automatically from Facebook. Cool. Any other questions before we move on to targeting? Okay. So the next one down is Facebook settings. And this is where you have to have your Facebook account connected. So it's going to have my name here, and it's going to have me select from my page. Now, I have several Facebook pages that I admin or I belong to. A lot of them are test. But this is going to be your Facebook page that you have out there. And just for the sake of this, I'm going to pull probably the one that looks mostly like your market center. So we're kind of in compliance. Okay. And then it's going to pull in my branding once I do that. So then it's going to pull in my Facebook page name here. And this is our logo for that Facebook account. So if you have your headshot here or whatever you typically have on Facebook is what you'll see. So this is where you start to get that personal touch. Now I'm going to pull out another book here because I just want to share some things too. When we advertise on Facebook, this is what we call a dark post. What we kind of describe that as is that it's a news feed style that doesn't publish to your timeline or to your followers organically. So a light post would be like if I were to be on Facebook and post to my Chattahoochee North page, everybody who follows my page would see that. And then whoever shares that would see that. And a lot of people that know me could see that content if I'm posting it directly on Facebook. When I'm doing it via ads, what we call a dark post, which means that people who follow you most likely won't see it. We're going after a whole different group of targeting, people that don't know your brand or interact with your brand yet. We're trying to get new customers from that. So you won't see this show up on your Facebook page. This is only going to show up in the timeline of people that we're trying to get to target and go after, potential buyers for our property. Does that make sense? Okay. Now, if you hear nothing else from today's class, please hear this next thing. The most important button in this entire process is this one right here that says use the Facebook lead generation form. This is by far the most important thing in the entire process. And I don't have an example of this, but essentially what happens is, let's say that I'm scrolling through Facebook as a consumer and I see this ad show up on my timeline. I click on the picture, and what will happen when I have this Facebook lead generation button clicked is that Facebook will pop up a form that says, hey, you're logged in, first name Sam, last name Jackson, telephone number is this, email number is this. If you wish to continue to the advertiser site, please click next. And then like in the bylaw, like the tiny lines, it says by clicking next, you agree that we're going to share your information with the advertiser. But what's happening whenever we do this is Facebook is capturing the lead. And Facebook makes it really, really easy. They have very few what we call friction points, meaning that Facebook already auto-populated that person's information in the form. Whereas if I were to use a site or a landing page, that means that this person's going to have to go to my website. They're going to have to fill out the I want to learn more information button. They're going to rely on you to reach out to them. This button right here preloads that via Facebook. And for whatever doggone reason, people trust Facebook. They have no problem sharing their information right there. They made it really, really easy. Does that make sense? Any questions around that? Because that's kind of like a new thing we're doing here that's kind of confusing at times. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. Then from here, though, we have your button. We're going to skip that. We're going to leave that as learn more. That's kind of what we build our ad around. And then we have to put in a website. So when someone clicks on my ad, they see the form. Once they fill out the form, then we're going to direct them to whatever page we put right in here. Now, what I'd recommend is I would take them to your actual listing inside of your website. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the address. And in a new tab, I'm going to go to my website. And if y'all are using the command website, it'll look like this. If you're using something else, no judgment around there, I would still recommend go inside of your website. So don't ever send somebody to your homepage. Let's think about this for a second. if somebody were to click on my ad, how would they know where to go once they hit my homepage? We didn't even mention the location, did we? We mentioned nothing about Lake of the Ozarks. We mentioned nothing about the town, the city that it's in. We never gave it a price point. We never mentioned an address. So what I implore you to do is when you come to your website, and again, Command or Other, go deeper into your website. Go ahead and into that search bar and find the property. And I may have to type that in again.
I have a question. I'm so sorry. I missed a section. You're
okay.
Is there a reason that you didn't link to a landing page, or just for the sake of not wanting to create one right now?
Yeah, well, honestly, I use the command pages quite extensively, and I feel like they have gotten to the point to where they're so great. I don't need to create a landing page just for extra work.
Okay.
These pages inside the listings themselves do enough for me that I don't feel the need that I actually have to create anything. Let me try that again without the lot, maybe. Oops. Come on, move on over. Uh, 113. Is the property currently pending?
No,
No.
no, it was,
Let's see here. New construction. I have all that checked off. Okay. Property type. Try lots and land.
no, it won't be in lots and lands. It's,
All right. Let me zoom out a little bit. I was in the right location though. Yeah.
yeah, you're
Yeah.
definitely in the right location. It's,
Here, let me clear all my filters now. Get all that out. All right. Directionally, where do I need to go?
somewhere right in here. Keep going to, where's your, well, where's the,
Do you want to go north, east, west, or south?
directly north,
Okay. Up here somewhere.
right there, right where it says 598,
598, 598. Right here.
69.
There we go.
There you go.
Down here. All right.
There you go. There you go. Now you're the one on the point.
On the point down here. What were we at? 614 or 6?
No, I think it was through 698, wasn't it? What is it, Kate?
Here we are. Okay.
Yeah, that's it. That's
Yeah,
There
it.
we
you
go. Woo. Hopefully you have an easier time finding your own listing when you
Yeah.
do this. That was normally not that hard, but the goal though is that we're going to get to that point again. Whatever website you're using, I do want to click onto this listing, and this is where I want people to go to. And this is why I love the command websites. Again, I'm not here to pitch those specifically for not using it. It's branded to me. I don't have to worry about like them coming here, not being interested in this property, and then going back to the main search, because I know that no matter where they go, they're on my website. So if you're using like realtor.com or, you know, Zillow or any of those like generic listing sites, don't find whatever website you can here. But what I'm going to do now though, is that since this is where I want people to go, I'm going to go ahead and grab this long URL up here, copy that, and then back inside of command and campaigns, that's what I'm going to put right here. And so whenever people click my Facebook ad, they're going to get a form from Facebook. And then once they agree to fall through, this is where they're going. Now, quite honestly, you could easily redirect them to littlecaesars.com if you wanted to, because we already captured their information from Facebook. We're just making sure that we're building trust by, we never told them anything. We didn't tell them this, like the city, the subdivision, or the price, any information to where they could get this information on their own. So it's best that like we don't leave that up to them to figure it out. We just kind of really direct them to the best place we can inside of here. Does that make sense? Okay, cool. All right. Now, I get the impression that Lake of the Ozarks is a pretty large second home area. Is that fair to say, or not?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So when
Is
it comes
there-
to,
I do have a question. Isn't there, when this goes out, aren't we supposed to have the price and all of that stuff on the ad?
Oh, thank you. That's something I forgot to bring up. That's also unique to local bylines and laws. Yeah, so please, yeah, thank you. Thank you so much for bringing that up. Yeah, make sure you talk to your local leadership on getting your advertising approved. My area, we don't have to. I apologize for that. I should have.
Okay, so I mean, I've got to have my name, I've got to have the brokerage name, I got to have the brokerage number, my cell phone, and I've got to have the price on it to advertise.
Okay. If that's the case, then you may want to get a little bit more creative underneath the main copy. And then if you wanted to do that, what I'd recommend is maybe just put a couple of spaces down here, put all that information.
Okay.
You're going to be running up against a character limit. There we go, finally caught up. Because what this may do is that our ad would still look the same, but there may be a tiny see more button here that people would click on to where like that information is technically compliant, but we're also kind of hiding it so that like we're in compliance, but also not trying to give away too much information. And then also, even if it's here, we know that people aren't going to read it. We're not going to get in trouble. The main thing is they're going to look at this first. But if you put a couple spaces or a couple lines in between this copy and then whatever you have to put in for compliance, that's a good place to put it. But please, and thank you so much for bringing it up, check with your local leadership on what you have to do there. It's not worth going to realtor jail over this.
No, not at all. Matter of fact, and it has to be posted as soon as you see it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, excellent. Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, make sure you put whatever you need to inside either the main copy, or if you have space to do it too, you can do that inside your description, or if you have enough room inside of the ownership statement, you could use that as well.
And that will all pop up on the first page?
That'll be actually right here inside the picture. You can kind of see it. It's that black, it would be that black text there.
Okay. And that would show up in the under ownership statement. I think I like that. I like
yeah, it's
that
like a little
one.
legal footer. Yeah, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right. But yeah, going back to Facebook settings, once you've got out your links all sorted out, from here you can do some targeting. Now this is automatically checked to drop a pin on your listing, and then it'll do a radius of 20 miles surrounding that area. If you hit this use custom settings button, you can change that. Now what I'd recommend, if you do not live anywhere near the listing you're advertising, put the city that you live in here. That way there, you're not driving 20 miles to get to the center of your ad space, and then another 20 miles to get to the people that you're targeting. So what I'd normally recommend is where you see Lake Ozark, put the city that you live in. Because what we're doing is we're just dropping a pin based on whatever we put here, and we're targeting people that show up inside that radius. So if you don't want to drive all around the lake to get there, you can do that. Now, I'm also of the school of thought of, well, I can also max out at 50 miles. Why not just put in 50 miles? So if you're willing to drive 50 miles for a lead, go ahead and put that in. The minimum that you're allowed to do to be in compliance with fair housing is 15 miles. You cannot go any less than that. Facebook got in trouble with the government a few years back and found that advertising policies, especially in real estate, could be discriminatory if you're targeting an area smaller than 15 miles. So this is the lowest you can go. If by chance you are targeting other areas and you know where other people are moving from to come to your area, you can put in any city here. It doesn't have to be local to Missouri. If you know that, is there like really a trend on where people are moving from to the Lake of the Ozarks?
It's everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'd say Texas, Illinois.
Okay. But if you want to target a city in Texas, you could put in Houston here. You could target, Chicago here. It doesn't really matter. This is just who we're going to go after.
So if I want to do St. Louis or Kansas City, that's where I put it?
Yep, exactly. Yep, you just knock out Lake Ozark and put in St. Louis.
Let's do St. Louis, yeah. Now that doesn't necessarily mean that I'm going to drive to St. Louis if they're going to drive here.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep, exactly. So now at this moment, we're targeting St. Louis, Missouri,
Right.
and a 15-mile pin around it. And if you're going to do it in a city that you don't live in, I
Yeah,
would just max out at 50 anyways.
Okay.
Because you're gonna source them, call them, have them come in.
Okay.
Cool. I wanted to test this because I had this shower thought this morning. I'm wondering if you can just do USA. Try that real quick. No, okay. Because I was
That'd have
wondering
been
that with like a second home destination that may be helpful. Okay. St. Louis is what we got there then. So yeah, we're going to target St. Louis and 50 miles then. Next on here is expert targeting. I do recommend using this when it makes sense. Typically what I do here and what the way this works is that we know that everybody shares basically too much information with Facebook, and Facebook knows way more about us than probably our spouses do, quite honestly. So what we're targeting is Facebook's buckets. So Facebook pretty much has a bunch of people inside of these like categories for the sake of advertising to them. Now, there isn't one necessarily that says home searching, at least to my knowledge, there wasn't. Oops. Why should there be one today? Yeah, there's not one that says home searching. So I can't be that obvious and target somebody that's looking for homes on Facebook. However, we can make some really fair assumptions, I would say. I typically use 3 of these. We have Zillow that we can use, Trulia, Zillow's ugly stepsister, as I call her, and Realtor.com. But these are the listing websites that Facebook knows that these people are on. And we can make the assumption that if Facebook thinks these people are on Zillow, then we can think that they're looking at houses. So I'm going to check Zillow. I'm going to check that off. Trulia. Check that. And then Realtor.com. And with each of these, you did notice that there were 2 options. There was the consumer website, and then there was the agent site, the pro version. Just make sure that you're always doing the agent or the consumer side there. Unless you're running a recruiting ad, which I do as well, that's whenever I use like Realtor.com. Once you have those 3 hits selected, we hit save. And now we're targeting people, we're targeting Facebook that Facebook thinks is looking at homes online. And this may mean that this person has clicked on a Zillow ad. This may mean this person's been logged into Facebook and Zillow at the same time, and Facebook's captured that information. There's all kinds of way that Facebook comes to these conclusions. These people are here. But this is kind of the smart way that we're going to approach that. This is the only targeting that I do, and less is more here. Even though you may be able to come in here and find an interest that's like lake and boating life, or in my area, we do a lot of golfing. And I see a lot of agents want to go after these interests, but we're going after people who like golfing, but we don't know they're interested in a home. So a lot of times we're just wasting our own money. So here, I'm going to be very specific on who I'm targeting. And not to contradict myself, the other thing I'll do is just not do any interests. When you just knock all of these out, you just let Facebook figure that out for you. We told Facebook originally our goal is that we want to go find buyers. It'll take that information and try and find buyers. By doing the ad interest, we're just helping Facebook along the way a little bit. So I'll either do none or just these 3. Cool. All right. Once I hit save, the last thing that we have to do is decide our budget. And this is totally up to you. I have a couple recommendations here on things that I have found that are best practices. But again, always play red light, green light with your expenses. Don't like, this is like going to the casino. When I go to the casino, I'm going in with a budget. I'm not going in there going back to my ATM and hitting the debit card several times. Like, I'm going in with a budget, and that's my budget. Like, if I lose it, I lose it, and I get nothing from it. No whoop, I had fun. The goal here is that I'm not spending something that I can afford to lose, because there may be times that you not get leads, or leads will take a while for them to come to fruition. So don't go crazy here. Do not have a very heavy budget on Facebook. What we're going to do is we're going to pick how long we're going to run the ad, and then how much we're going to spend. So Command defaults this to 10 days for $30. I would recommend when you do that math, it tells you that's $3 per day. Regardless of my budget, I like to be right around $5 per day. So if I have $25 to spend, I'll just change this to 5 days. And apparently I'm bad at math. Let's go back to 29th. There we go. So now I'm running it for 5 days. For $30, I'm going to decrease that to 25. My sweet spot, or the cheapest I'll go, is $5 a day. The max I'll ever do is $7 a day.
And why not keep the 3? Why is the 5 better?
Yeah. So either way, like I'm going to be spending $25 or whatever budget is that you create. The main thing that I'm going to play with is the date. So I would just do it for less days to
No, I get that, but
yeah. And the reason for that is we're probably not the only people that are also going after those targeted buyers. So Zillow is advertising to them, Truly is advertising to them, other real estate agents and brokerages are also advertising to them. And the way Facebook works is it's going to take this $5 every day and it's going to work on a budget. So it says, hey, Sam, you have $5 to spend today. Let's go target these people. And let's just say I'm down to like my last couple cents. If I have more left in my budget than one of those other companies, I'm going to get more leads. So it kind of works on like an auction or a bidding system. And we don't see any of that data. It just happens behind the scenes for Facebook. But what we know is that our main goal here is we want to be able to outbid anyone else who's also going against those same leads. And you'll see companies, they'll take a pretty large budget and spread it really, really thin across a couple months. With this approach, we can assure that we're going to outbid them in the day. And I hate to say it, but that's as much as I know about how that works on Facebook. It's really, really complicated. But that's the advice that we've seen and what I've seen personally. So regardless of your budget, I don't care if you're spending $10, just do it for 3 days. Or 2 days, rather. Math is my strong suit. And then once I hit here, I'm going to hit save. My ad's done. The last thing you have to do is hit publish campaign up here in the top right once you're happy with everything, or save as a draft if you want to come back later. But when I hit publish, if you're doing it for the first time, it's going to ask for your credit card. Mine's already in there. So I'm going to go ahead and hit create campaign. And let this spin. Sometimes it does take a minute. Do not leave this page while this button's still going here, okay? There we go. So now I got the message that my Facebook ad was completed successfully. It's going to take me back to my main dashboard. And I'm going to see this. When you run an ad on Facebook, you cannot advertise on the same day because it will have to get approved by Facebook. So right around midnight, I'll probably get a receipt from Keller Williams saying that my ad's been processed. And then I'll start seeing leads come in probably about 1 o'clock in the morning tonight.
So this is where I want to pop in, and I want to recommend that you download the Kelly app and sign into it so that as soon as you get a lead, you get notified through a push notification on your phone that there is a lead. Mary Lou, I know your whole team, you guys and I can go further into depth today about lead routing in Command and doing the round robin, or everybody has 5 minutes to respond and then it goes on to the next person for the ability to take the lead, or first come first serve. However you want to set that up, there's several ways that we can do that. Holly, if you want to make it competitive with Nathaniel, tell him he only has 5 minutes to respond and then it's your lead. But so just because I know there's an entire team signed into this call right now, like four people on this call are Mary Lou Stone team. So there's some ways that we can set up the lead routing, but make sure that you download the Kelly app so that you get notified right away. So that if you're one of those team members and you don't want to miss out on your 5 minutes to claim that lead, then you want to make sure it gets claimed.
Yeah, and yeah, that's the best way to get an actual push notification. You should also receive an email now from KW that looks like this. It'll say that you have a new lead. So KW is now sending emails, which is nice. So if you're watching your emails quite religiously, that's another good point there. And Mary Lou, make sure that I get your email. and then I'll email you all the leads that come through this. I certainly don't need them, so I'm going to send them. But what's cool about this is that once you start getting leads, you're going to get those emails. But you'll notice that on my accounts here, the ads that I run, you'll see a little spot here that says 3 leads. When you click on this, this will show you the leads that came in from that ad. It'll give you like a mini contact record of here's the folks. So you get a little dashboard of that. Are we okay in time? I may go over like by 5 minutes. Is that okay with everyone?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm good.
So these numbers tell a story when you start running ads, and it's really, really important to kind of understand how they work, and you don't have to be masters of it, but these will let you know what went wrong with your ad. Another quick thing is you'll notice that my last ad that I ran for Sherwood here, I was getting leads for $7.77. That's too high for me, so I immediately killed my ad. I turned it off. If you're not getting results that you want, I wasn't going to spend $30 for 3 leads. My goal is that I want to be under $2.50. Like that's the highest I'll ever pay for a lead. If I see it not performing well, I'll kill the ad while it's still running. Because what happens is like once you start to master this, or if you have like sometimes it's just listing based on what you have out there. My goal is that I want to get a lead for like $1.50 or less. So in this case, I spent $30, got 20 leads, it cost me $1.50 each. That's where we're cooking. When I'm up at $7, just go ahead and kill the ads. Take a look at what it is that maybe you did or you can do differently, and then make improvements.
How many days in were you when you saw that and canceled
Immediately.
it? Okay.
Yeah. So less than a full day.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So anytime that you see that like, hey, I spent, and this is what you'll see in this column over here, it tells you what you spent against your budget and then how many leads you had against that. So if I'm above probably even $4, I'm not letting that run. I'm going to kill it. And what you would do is just click the 3 dots over here on the right and hit stop campaign. If it's actively running, it would say pause campaign, but either way, it would stop it.
Okay.
Sam,
So-
I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
It still pertains to campaigns, but not necessarily this one. When
Yeah.
I run email campaigns, so like I send a property to all of the buyers in my database, I've noticed that my reports on it all say 0.
Yeah. So I've heard that we're going to get an increased reporting feature inside of Command, specifically for emails. There's a lot of people that had shared that frustrations. I don't know the timeline on it, but
wrong.
Yeah. No, they're pretty far off. Yeah, it'll say like 0 people opened them. Yeah, there should be an update. If it didn't hit, it should be soon. Yeah, so these columns here, the first one you don't have to worry about too much. CPM stands for cost per impressions. And this basically just tells you how much it would cost you to get in front of 1,000 people. This stat doesn't really mean much to me unless my content was me. Like if I'm branding myself as an agent and I'm the content, kind of like an online billboard, I want to be in front of as many people as possible. That's the only time this category would make any sense or to really track it. But for like ads in regards to listings or some other content, I'm interested in how many clicks and how many leads and then what it costs me per lead. So if you see that a lot of impressions, a lot of clicks, and 0 leads or not many leads, that usually tells me that you forgot to do the Facebook lead form. Or that could tell me that people might be turned off by what your Facebook page looks like. And I say that lovingly, but I've known by running a lot of ads, both for myself and with agents in my market center, whenever your ad, let me just pull this one back up real quick. Whenever your Facebook page in your ad has a headshot here in this spot, instead of a logo, it usually doesn't do well. And the only thing that I can think that makes sense to that would be, let's just forget we're selling houses and we're shopping for a car. I'm on the market, I want to buy a Jeep. If I were to see a Jeep show up on my Facebook, I might click on it. However, when I click on it and I see a car salesman versus a dealership, that's going to impact on whether or not I click through to that website or not. So my idea here is that we're seeing a salesperson, and that's turning off the people who've clicked on your ad but chose not to go all the way through. And I'm sure that y'all have beautiful headshots. Don't take offense to that. But if you can, put in your own branded logo here, whatever your local MLS and laws allow there. But that could be one thing that could impact if you're like, I got so many clicks, but why not any leads? I would take a look at your Facebook branding. Cool. And then lastly, I'm going to just wrap this up in 2 minutes here. Put these people on a smart plan. If you've done this successfully, you should at least get 10 people for the budget we use today, probably a lot more than that. But go into smart plans. And take a look at some of the already created smart plans that exist that you can easily throw these people on.
There's a Facebook lead follow-up one that's 21 days long, and it is the bomb.
Which one do you like? I searched for Facebook the other day. There's like 300 of them now.
Yeah, it was like one of the first 3. I didn't dig too far.
Okay. You said 21 days.
Yeah, it's 21 days. It's like 7 contacts.
There's one here for 23 days. I wonder if this is it.
Or no, 31 days. I'm sorry.
But take a look at these. Like I said, there are 300 of them in here now.
Yeah.
But with Facebook leads, like we talked about to start the class, you need pretty much 100 of these to get an appointment. And we know that these people aren't going to pick up necessarily the first 25 times reach out to them. So the goal here is that we're going to automate. We're going to leverage technology to call them, text them, email them, just to be in touch with them consistently. Use a smart plan to follow up with these leads while you're calling them. And here's the conversation that I would use when you get a lead. And again, you may have to tweak this for local leadership, what they say for you. But I typically say, hey, this is Sam Jackson with Keller Williams. I wanted to reach out to you because I was advertising your listing, I was advertising my listing on Enclave, and I saw that you clicked on the property. Just out of curiosity, what got your attention? And they're going to say, who are you? Why are you calling me? Like, honestly, that's what happens. Like, I'm Sam Jackson. I'm a local real estate agent. And I'm just advertising my property on the lake. And you happen to kind of, give me information through Facebook. I just want to reach out to you and see, what caught your attention. Like, I'm just looking. Great. Well, is there anything I can help you with? What are you looking for? And they keep asking those open-ended questions until you break down that wall to where you're able to have a qualifying conversation with them. But the key thing is you do want to call them while they're still hopefully on your website, but you don't want to go so aggressive and saying, hey, this is Sam Jackson. You clicked on my listing for 1009 Enclave. Do you want to go take a look at this afternoon? And they're going to say, who the heck are you? Why are you? Why? Stop it. No, and they're going to hang up on you and they're never going to call you back. So with these, a much more passive approach to what we normally handle with online leads is probably the best practice there. But that doesn't give you an excuse not to call them. It just changes the way we approach that with that call. All right. Any questions today? And thank you for allowing me to go over a little bit.
Well, I do have a question. If you're going to do a Facebook, whether you're an individual person and you're an individual agent and you're going to run it for 5 days, or if you're in the team part, wouldn't it be better rather to run one ad and just keep it with that one agent rather than doing a round robin like Elise was talking about for 5 days? Wouldn't it be just better to give it to one agent and let them have all those leads? Because that's what they're wanting to do. They're wanting to target that, right? What do you think of that, Elise? Or do you think the round robin needs to happen now, or do you think it needs to go to the one person?
I think Sam is a better person to ask because I never got to participate in team leads when I was on a team. And
okay.
Sam gets paid the big bucks to answer the big questions.
Yeah. I work with a lot of teams. Like we have a lot of teams in my market centers. I typically leave it up to that rainmaker to make that decision ultimately, because I've learned that every team is different. So one of my top teams, they have specialists. So like depending on the lead source, they have a go-to person, whether it's Homelight or Facebook. They know the person who mastered that script the best, who can handle those leads and has a better time converting them. Or they'll also take things like Opcity and just put them on their own round robin. So it really depends on the rainmaker and what you feel and who's going to be the best person. or depending on your value, what's going to be the most fair to the agents on your team. Is that the best like political non-answer that I can give you?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay.
Do what you want, right?
I don't think there's a best practice as far as you divvy that out, other than like you'll know best. It's like trying to figure
Yeah,
out
you just
which one's
trial
your
and
favorite
error.
kid. Yeah.
Yeah, I just
You're not
think
allowed
if
to
it's
say it.
someone's listing, they're going to know that better than the other person that's working on something else. So, you know,
That's a fair point, but just like an open house or open houses before COVID, people who came to open houses weren't necessarily buying that property. We were getting them as a lead as they entered in that door, and yet we went and showed them how many other different properties. The same thing works online. We're getting them with this content, but they're statistically speaking probably not the buyer. We're just getting a lead that's an online lead. That's how we have to think about it.
Okay.
So it may not be the person who knows the best about the individual property. It's the person who can convert an online lead.
Gotcha. Who's able to answer the phone and all that stuff. Gotcha.
Cool. Any other questions? I offer this to literally everyone. I should have repackaged that. Now, only uniquely to you guys today. If you're running a Facebook ad and you need help, or if you've run a Facebook ad and you said, what the heck happened, and any leads? If you send me some screenshots of that first page, once we get back here, the dashboard on your paid ads, with like, if you send me a couple screenshots of like this area, I don't think I can highlight it, but this first box right here with all the numbers. And then if you were to go in and also send me a screenshot of what your ad looks like, I can play detective and tell you what we can do to improve that ad or to double down on some of your results. Be more than happy to do that for any of you that run your first ad from a result from today. And my email is easy. It's just sam.jackson@kw.com.
Sam, what?
sam.jackson@kw.com.
Okay. Do you want mine?
Yeah, please.
Mary Lou at maryloustone.com.
Excellent. Cool. All right. Well, I appreciate all of you. Thank you for being on here today and waking up with me today. I would love to be able to help out any way I can. So at least reach out to me in the future if you need anything, or again, y'all have my contact information. So like, please don't be a stranger. This isn't a one-time event. So I'm more happy to
so
coordinate if I
much.
can.
Yeah, thank you.
It was
All
very
right.
helpful.
And email me. I want to know your results. I want to know who gets a listing or a deal from this. I'd love to hear that.
You email me first.
Absolutely.
Got it. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Make it a great
All
week.
right. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have
See
a
ya.
great day.
Bye.
Bye.